Chosen one. Pause for a moment. Heaven has drawn a circle around this day, October 14th, and placed your name inside it. It is not an ordinary day, nor are you an ordinary soul. You are set apart. You are called higher, and the command of heaven over you is simple yet weighty. Do not speak a word. This instruction may feel strange at first. Why silence? When your heart burns to testify, why quiet? When you have carried so many battles inside. But the mystery of God is this: sometimes silence is not weakness, but the greatest weapon you can hold. Sometimes silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. And the enemy trembles when your lips are sealed by obedience. Think of silence as a sword sheathed. To the untrained eye, it looks like inaction, but in the unseen realm, it glows with fire. Your silence is a declaration to heaven that you trust the one who speaks on your behalf. It is an act of surrender that says, I will not fight this with noise, but with stillness. I will not prove myself with arguments, but with faith. I remember the story of one chosen one. She had endured a long season of rejection. Every room she entered, people misunderstood her. Every time she tried to explain herself, words twisted in the air and landed as stones against her chest. Until one day, God whispered, "Be silent. Let me defend you." It was painful to obey, for she wanted to shout, to prove, to clarify. Yet she chose silence. And in time, those who opposed her fell silent themselves, not because she argued them down, but because God Himself moved. That is what October 14th holds for you. It is not a day to debate or to defend. It is a day to sheath your words and let heaven write the sentence. We are reminded through the writings of the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 20. But the Lord is in His holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before Him. Do you feel the weight of those words? Keep silence before Him. That is your assignment. It is not a request, it is a command forged in love. For when you stay silent, you create space for the voice of God to thunder. Picture yourself as a seed buried deep in the soil. Seeds make no sound. They do not cry out as the darkness of earth covers them. They do not shout when storms water the ground. Yet, in silence, they break open. In silence, they rise. In silence, they grow into towering trees. Your silence on October 14th is not emptiness, it is germination. Something inside you is breaking open, quietly, powerfully, and soon it will push through the surface into the light. Imagine also the image of a lion waiting in tall grass. The lion does not roar when the prey is far. It stays silent, still, patient. Only when the moment arrives does its voice thunder. Your silence on October 14th is not defeat. It is positioning. It is strength waiting for God's appointed hour. The world will tempt you that day. Someone may provoke you. A conversation may rise where your flesh burns to respond. Your phone may buzz with messages that beg your reply, but you must resist. This silence is not about ignoring people, but about honoring God. He is asking for your tongue, just for a moment, so He can fill the atmosphere with His own words. Do not think this command is small. It is a test. It is a seal. The silence of the chosen ones on October 14th will echo in heaven as loud as trumpets. Angels will march when your mouth rests. Darkness will scatter when your tongue holds back. If you are hearing this message, do not let it pass by like another video, another sound. This is a prophetic summons. You have been handpicked to hear it. That alone proves you are marked for more. Pause again. Let this sink in. The instruction is simple. On October 14th, remain silent. But the impact is eternal. And now, as a prophetic act of agreement, comment below with the number 777, not as a superstition, but as a seal, a signature in the spirit realm that says, I will obey. I will hold my tongue. I choose silence. If this word touches your heart, share it with another chosen one who might need this confirmation. Subscribe to stay connected, because this is only the beginning of what God is about to reveal. And let your like be a silent amen to heaven's command. October 14th is marked. Silence will speak, and you will see what only obedience can unlock. On the surface, silence appears fragile. People may think of it as passivity, as if to be silent is to retreat or surrender. But in the realm of the Spirit, silence is weight. It is a mantle you wear, a garment woven, not of weakness, but of reverence. Silence is not the absence of power, it is the concealment of it. When you choose silence on October 14th, you are stepping into a mystery that prophets and saints once knew. They understood that not every battle is fought with shouts. Sometimes victory is born in stillness. The world measures strength by noise, but heaven measures it by obedience. The one who can restrain the tongue wields greater might than the one who can move crowds with speeches, according to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 28. Even a fool is considered wise if he keeps silent, and discerning he is if he holds his tongue. These words remind you that silence is not emptiness, but discernment. It shields you from traps. It guards you from words that might later return as chains. Every word spoken has weight. Silence preserves your freedom. There is a hidden rhythm in silence. When the noise of the world presses in, silence becomes like a fortress. Inside it, your thoughts align, your spirit calms, and your ears grow sensitive to whispers from above. You begin to hear not just the clamor of your surroundings, but the gentle tones of divine guidance. Silence is not void, it is invitation. Think of a mountain lake at dawn. Its waters are still, like glass, reflecting the sky perfectly. The beauty is not in its motion, but in its stillness. That is what silence makes of you, a clear reflection of the presence of God. When your words rest, His voice is mirrored more vividly in your life. Another image, the blacksmith's forge. Before a sword is hammered into shape, there is a pause. The iron is placed in fire and rests there, glowing. No sound, no movement, only heat doing its hidden work. Your silence on October 14th is that pause in the forge. You are not inactive. You are being tempered in fire. The glowing does not announce itself with words. But when the moment comes, you will strike with strength impossible to counterfeit. This is why the instruction to remain silent carries weight. It is not about cutting off human interaction as a rule, but about aligning yourself with a holy moment. The Lord has set this day apart because He is preparing something behind the veil. If you speak, you risk interrupting the heavenly rhythm. If you keep silent, you sync with it. Many do not realize that silence itself is prayer. Not every prayer requires words. Sometimes the most powerful intercession is the quiet surrender of your heart. It is the tear that falls with no explanation, the breath you release when you have no more to say, the stillness of your body waiting before God. Silence carries prayers beyond vocabulary. And yet, silence is not easy. It requires strength to resist the urge to defend yourself. It requires trust to let the world misinterpret you while you wait on heaven to clarify. It requires humility to admit that your words are not always needed. Silence is discipline, but that discipline births authority. On October 14th, this authority will begin to settle on you. It will not look dramatic. It may not even feel like much. Yet something will shift in the unseen. Angels will move as you refrain. Chains will weaken as you withhold. Sometimes the greatest explosions of grace begin with the smallest acts of obedience. Your silence is not only for your sake, it is also for the sake of the testimony that will follow. When others later witness what unfolded, they will know it was not your argument, not your cleverness, not your persuasion. It was God. Silence ensures that the glory belongs to Him alone. You have carried burdens long enough. On October 14th, you are called to place them down, not by explaining, not by defending, but by keeping your tongue. In that stillness, you will discover that heaven has been speaking over you all along. Your silence, chosen one, is not wasted. It is the soil where God plants answers you have long prayed for. While others may only see restraint, heaven sees readiness. On October 14th, every second of silence will be recorded as worship. Every withheld word as incense rising before His throne. Do not despise this hidden obedience. In silence, you are becoming unshakable, trained, and refined. What feels like holding back is actually moving forward into greater authority. Soon, the fruit of this silence will astonish even you. Silence does not mean God has forgotten you. Silence is often the proof that He is working behind the curtain. You are living in a season where heaven does its greatest work, unseen. And that is why you are being asked to step aside from speaking. There is a spiritual law at play. When you guard your tongue, you preserve your destiny. Too many times, people have sabotaged their future with words spoken in haste. They opened their mouths in pain and gave away secrets to the enemy. But the chosen ones are learning another way, the way of restraint, the way of hidden strength. The apostle reminds us in his letter to James, chapter 1, verse 19. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak and slow to become angry. 1. Do you see the wisdom here? Listening is prioritized above speaking. Your ears are gateways to divine instruction. On October 14th, God is asking you to sharpen that gateway, to lean in, to pay attention. You will hear whispers that others miss because you refuse to fill the air with your own words. Let me tell you the story of a young man who once walked this path. He was mocked often by his peers, accused falsely, and his first instinct was to defend himself. But one day, he felt a stirring from the Spirit. Do not answer back. He obeyed reluctantly. Days turned into weeks. He thought his silence made him appear weak. But suddenly, one of his accusers was confronted by truth that no human hand arranged. The lies collapsed without him saying a word, and the young man discovered this. Silence is not losing the battle, it is letting God win it for you. You, too will see this truth. When you hold your tongue on October 14th, God Himself will fight for you, and you will witness victories that no argument could have secured. Silence may feel like emptiness, but in reality, it is a furnace. Your spirit is being heated, purified, and prepared. In the fire of silence, impurities are burned off. Every complaint, every grudge, every unholy word begins to melt away. You may think you are just waiting, but in fact, you are being transformed. Imagine an eagle gliding above a storm. The eagle does not argue with the wind. It does not curse the thunder. It simply spreads its wings and lets the current carry it higher. That is your call in this season. Silence is your wings. The storm is real, but it cannot destroy you. It can only lift you higher. Now, here is where I want you to step in. Write these words in the comments. Silence is power. Do not just type them as letters. Type them as a declaration. This is not for me, it is for you. When you write it, you are etching truth onto your own spirit. You are agreeing that your silence is not emptiness, but authority. You are marking yourself as one who will not waste words, but will wait for the right moment appointed by God. And when others read your words, they will sense the strength in your stand. They may realize that silence is not weakness, but an anointing. Together, the chosen ones rise stronger, unified not by noise, but by obedience. October 14th is not just another date on the calendar. It is a divine checkpoint, a marker in your journey. You are being entrusted with a holy assignment, and every act of faithfulness, even as small as restraining your tongue, will echo into eternity. So remember, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is alignment with the one who speaks for you. And when the silence of the chosen ones fills the earth, the roar of heaven will surely follow. And yet, there is more to understand. Silence is not just a command for one day, it is a training for your spirit. By yielding your tongue, you are teaching your heart to lean on God's strength instead of your own. The discipline of silence on October 14th will ripple into the days beyond, shaping your responses, steadying your emotions, and anchoring your faith. Consider this: silence creates room for discernment. Words can often blur clarity, but silence clears the fog. In your stillness, you will discern what is truly of God and what is mere distraction. Like a watchman on a wall, you will be able to see from a higher vantage point, recognizing threats before they come close. Finally, silence positions you for revelation. God whispers secrets, not in the noise, but in the quiet. October 14th is not only about what you will withhold, but also about what you will receive. As you remain silent, expect fresh direction, hidden answers, and divine confirmations to rise within you. This is the treasure that only silence can unlock. There are days in the calendar of heaven that are not like others. October 14th is one of them. It has been set apart as a day of testing, not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your strength. You may have thought that strength is proven in battles fought, in words spoken, or in defenses raised. Yet in truth, strength is most visible when you have the power to speak, but choose not to. That restraint is your crown. Think of how fire tests gold. The flames are not meant to destroy, but to purify. On October 14th, Silence is the fire, and you are the gold. The heat of provocation, of distraction, of misunderstanding may surround you. But each time you choose stillness, the dross is burned away. Your faith shines brighter. Your spirit grows cleaner, and heaven marks you as refined. The ancient words, recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, verse 2, remind us, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you, in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands." And this scripture reveals that every test is not random, it is purposeful. The wilderness was not punishment, but preparation. In the same way, October 14th is not meant to burden you with silence, but to reveal what already rests inside you. Will you hold to the command? Will you trust that silence can accomplish what your words cannot? Tests are uncomfortable. They strip away the illusions of control. They expose what is real. Yet they also reveal hidden treasures. When Israel walked through the wilderness, they discovered water from a rock, manna from heaven, and the presence of God by day and night. Their test was hard, but it was filled with provision. So it will be for you. Your silence may feel heavy, but in that quiet you will taste unexpected provision, peace when you expect unrest, strength when you expect weakness, clarity when you expect confusion. Consider the image of a bow being drawn. The string is pulled back. The arrow waits. To an outsider, it may seem like nothing is happening, but in reality, tension is building, energy is being stored, and release is near. Your silence on this day is that tension. It is not stagnation, but preparation. You are being drawn back, so that when God releases you, your impact will be sharper, farther, and unstoppable. Another image is the cocoon of a butterfly. The creature that enters is not the same as the one that emerges. Within the stillness of the cocoon, a miracle occurs. Cells rearrange, wings form, colors are painted. The silence of October 14th is your cocoon. You may feel hidden, unseen, or even restricted, but something glorious is forming. The transformation will not be visible immediately, but the day will mark the beginning of a change that cannot be undone. Do not be surprised if your silence draws attention. Some may question why you do not answer. Others may interpret your quiet as pride, or weakness, or indifference. But remember, tests often involve misunderstanding. Joseph was misunderstood by his brothers, David by his family, Jeremiah by his nation. Yet their obedience to God carried them through. Your silence is not for the approval of men, it is for the recognition of heaven. There is also a hidden mercy in silence. Words spoken in haste can wound for years, but silence spares scars. Arguments can escalate into battles that never needed to be fought, but silence ends conflicts before they begin. On October 14th, your silence will not only protect your spirit, but also shield relationships, preserve peace, and prevent unnecessary damage. It is important to see this day not as a single event, but as a doorway. When you pass through the test of silence, you step into a new level of spiritual maturity. You prove to yourself and to heaven that you are able to steward greater authority. Authority is never given cheaply. It is entrusted to those who can be trusted with restraint. The test of October 14th will ask, can you trust God enough to let Him speak for you? Can you rest in silence, knowing that the Judge of all the earth sees, hears, and will act in His time? If you can, then you are ready for what comes next. This day of testing is not about surviving, it is about graduating. Your silence is not the end, but the threshold into a new realm of influence, favor, and alignment. Let the test refine you, not discourage you. Let the quiet reveal your strength, not your lack. And remember, silence is not the absence of voice, but the presence of trust. Voices will come for you. Some will rise like whispers in the wind, subtle and almost invisible. Others will roar like storms, demanding a response. These are distractions designed to pull you out of your assignment. October 14th will not pass without resistance. Every test worth enduring is always met with noise. Yet your power will not be found in matching the noise, but in remaining unmoved. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace. Everyone is shouting, selling, bargaining, but you have a secret letter in your hand, sealed, sacred, carrying instructions for your future. You know that if you stop to argue with the vendors, you might lose the letter, or worse, forget the way. That is what distractions do. They try to cheapen your silence, to steal your focus, to trick you into trading the eternal for the temporary. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 15. In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength. Oh, that quietness is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in calmness. It is the kind of strength that knows its source. A river does not shout to prove it is flowing. Its movement speaks for itself. In the same way, your silence on October 14th will speak volumes in heaven, even if the world misinterprets it. Let me share with you the story of another chosen one. He had always been quick with words, sharp, witty, ready to defend himself. But one season came when God told him, "Do not answer." At first, he resisted, thinking silence would mean defeat. But as days passed, he began to notice something unusual. The less he defended himself, the more God opened doors in his favor. People who once spoke against him grew silent. Opportunities he could never have argued into existence began to appear. Silence became his shield, and the peace it brought was unlike anything he had ever known. October 14th will be your shield too, but the distractions will not stop trying to pierce it. That is why you must already decide, now your silence will not be stolen. Think of distractions as shadows on the wall. They move, they stretch, they loom large, but they have no substance. The enemy thrives on shadows, hoping you will mistake them for reality. Silence reveals the truth. A shadow has no power unless you chase it. On October 14th, your silence will keep you from chasing what was never real in the first place. And here is where your choice becomes a work of art. Silence is not just obedience, it is beauty. When you remain silent, you are painting a masterpiece of trust on the canvas of your destiny. Every withheld word is a brushstroke of surrender. Every pause is a color of faith. And when heaven looks at your silence, it does not see emptiness. It sees a living painting of loyalty and devotion. That is why I invite you, not with pressure, but with freedom, to let your support become part of this masterpiece. When you press the like button, it is like adding light to the canvas. saying, "Yes." This word reflects the truth. I feel when you share. It is like holding up the painting for others to see, saying, "There is beauty here. Come and look." When you subscribe, it is like stepping into the gallery of God's ongoing work, saying, "I don't want to miss the next brushstroke." You are not being forced to do these things. It is not an obligation. It is an invitation, an echo of the very silence you are called into. Just as silence is voluntary, so is your response. Both are gifts you choose to give, not duties you must fulfill. On October 14th, distractions will call, but your silence will answer more powerfully than words. You will walk past the noise like a carrier of holy instructions, your eyes fixed on the path, your heart sealed in trust. And in that silence, you will discover a beauty greater than any sound could ever give. Remember this: silence is not the absence of voice, but the elevation of trust. Every time you hold your peace, heaven hears a song, and that song will carry you through the distractions, into the glory prepared for you. Silence will be your unseen crown, the jewel that no one may notice at first. Yet heaven places it upon your head with honor, what others call passivity. God calls power, concealed in gentleness. And when the day passes, you will realize that your silence was not emptiness, it was a seed. That seed will break the ground in its time and bring forth a harvest of peace. There are moments when heaven chooses numbers as seals, not because of superstition, but because numbers carry divine rhythm. Each one is like a note in a song, a symbol written into the fabric of creation. On October 14th, your silence will not just be an action, it will be a covenant. And this covenant can be sealed with a prophetic number. The book of Revelation is filled with numbers, each one echoing mysteries of God's design. 7 churches, 12 tribes, 40 days. Numbers were never meaningless, they always pointed to a greater truth. In your journey as a chosen one, God uses even the smallest sign to remind you that you are walking in His orchestration, not your own. Scripture reminds us in the prophet Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, "The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty, and in this place I will grant peace." Greater glory, greater peace. This is what lies beyond the silence. It is not only about what you withhold, but also about what God releases in return. Like a seed hidden in the ground, your silence looks invisible, yet when heaven breathes on it, it bursts into life that cannot be contained. Think of a harp in the hands of a musician. One string alone may not carry a song, but when tuned and played in harmony, it produces a melody that soothes the soul. Your silence is one string in the greater symphony of heaven, and today you are being tuned for the music of the days to come. But how do you anchor this truth into your spirit so it is not forgotten once the day passes? By writing it, speaking it, declaring it even in the smallest ways. This is where the prophetic act of a number comes in. When you choose to type a number in the comments, it is not just interaction with a screen. It is a declaration that you align with heaven's pattern. And today, the number is 144. Why 144? Because, in the book of Revelation, it is the number of the sealed ones, the faithful, marked and preserved for the purposes of God. It is not a random count, but a symbol of fullness, of completion. of those who belong to the Lord without compromise. To write 144 is to place yourself among the marked ones, declaring, I am sealed. My silence is not accidental, it is holy. My obedience is not hidden, it is recorded. 4 stands for foundations, for the 4 corners of the earth. The stability of creation. 12 is the number of tribes, of government, of divine order. 12 times 12 gives us 144. A multiplication of God's perfect order and stability. By typing this number, you are declaring that your silence will not collapse under pressure. It is rooted in the order and foundation of heaven itself. Think of it this way. Your silence on October 14th is like a stone being placed into the temple of God. One stone alone may look small, but when arranged in divine order, it becomes part of a house filled with glory. 144 represents that house, that structure where God dwells. By writing it, you are saying, here I am, a living stone, offering even my silence as part of his dwelling. Picture a watchtower standing on the wall of an ancient city, strong, unmoved. It guards the land. The number 144 is your watchtower. It reminds you that your silence is not passive, but protective. It shields your destiny, your mind, your spirit from unnecessary battles, so that when the right moment comes, you can move forward without wounds from meaningless words. And when the day comes, and you feel the temptation to speak rising in your chest, remember your own seal. Remember that you typed 144, that you stood with the sealed ones, that you offered your silence not as emptiness, but as a foundation. That memory will anchor you. That number will whisper, stand firm. You are marked, all free. So let this number be written not only in the comments, but in your heart. Let it become your reminder that silence is sacred, that obedience is not wasted, and that you are part of the great company of the sealed. Type 144, not because it is required, but because it is a covenant. It is your way of saying, I am part of this. I belong to the ones God Himself has set apart. Noise has always been the enemy's favorite tool. It fills the air, drowns the whispers of God, and distracts you from your true path. On October 14th, the command of silence becomes a weapon sharper than any sword, because noise cannot cling to you if you do not answer it. When you stay silent, you break the pattern of noise that tries to rule the world. Darkness thrives in endless chatter, arguments that go in circles, accusations that echo, gossip that spreads like wildfire. Every time you refuse to speak, you interrupt that cycle. You cut the cord of chaos and refuse to lend it your energy. We find in the writings of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 7, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. And this verse reminds you that silence is not forever, but there are appointed seasons for it. October 14th is one such season, a time ordained not for shouting but for stillness. In that moment, your silence will terrify the enemy more than any loud declaration, because he cannot manipulate what you refuse to release. Think of a battlefield. Soldiers clash. Weapons strike. Dus trices. In the middle of the chaos, one warrior stands unmoved, sword sheathed, watching with steady eyes. The silence of that warrior unsettles the enemy. Why? Because it signals control. Panic speaks, patience waits. The one who does not rush to noise is the one who knows the battle is already won. In your silence, you embody that stillness. You show that you are not swayed by provocation. You refuse to let words be weapons against you. Instead, you allow God to wield His authority through your restraint. There is also something deeply spiritual in silence. It unravels pride. Pride always wants the last word. Pride always seeks to prove, to argue, to defend. But humility bows its head and trusts God to be its vindication. On October 14th, you are being trained in humility through silence. You are laying down your pride and clothing yourself with trust. Consider the image of the ocean's depths. On the surface, waves crash. Storms rage. Ships rock. But deep below, the waters are still, unmoved by the surface noise. That is what silence produces in you. Depth. It roots you beyond the surface reactions of life, anchoring you in a calm the storms cannot touch. Another image is the lamp in a dark room. A lamp does not need to shout its presence. It simply shines, and its quiet glow pushes back the shadows. On October 14th, your silence will be that lamp. Though unseen by some, it will fill the atmosphere with light that no argument could achieve. You may wonder, if silence is this powerful, why is it so hard? Because it requires surrender. It demands trust that God's timing is better than your impulse. It strips away the illusion that you can control outcomes with your voice. In silence, you are reminded that the real battle is not won with words, but with faith. Do not mistake this for passivity. Silence is active. It is a shield you lift against arrows. It is a cloak you wear to confuse the enemy. It is a stage upon which God Himself steps forward. By stepping back, you create space for His power to be revealed. On October 14th, every withheld word will carry weight. Every moment you restrain yourself will strike blows in the unseen realm. The kingdom of darkness fears a tongue that waits, because such a tongue is ruled by heaven and not by emotion. So walk into that day knowing this. Your silence is breaking patterns older than you. It is severing ties to cycles of conflict and noise. It is declaring in the unseen realm that you will no longer be ruled by distraction. You will not join the chaos. You will not echo the noise. Silence will become your authority, and in that authority, you will find freedom. Your silence is not just for that day alone. It will leave a mark on your spirit, teaching you how to live above the noise. Each time you practice restraint, you grow stronger in discernment, sharper in wisdom, and deeper in faith. It will also become a testimony to others. They may not understand in the moment, but later, when they see the fruit of your calm, they will realize that silence was not weakness, but holy strategy. And above all, your silence will be remembered in heaven. Angels will record it, and the Father will honor it. For in choosing silence, you chose Him over yourself, and that choice is never forgotten. There is a shield that no weapon can pierce, a covering stronger than steel or stone. It is not built by human hands, nor purchased with earthly wealth. This shield is obedience. On October 14th, your silence will form this shield around you. Invisible yet impenetrable, words can open doors, but they can also open wounds. Every spoken word has weight, and once released, it cannot return unchanged. The shield of obedience is forged when you hold your tongue, when you choose to let heaven carry the weight instead of scattering it with speech. Your silence is not emptiness, it is the crafting of a shield. The Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 16, "Take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one." Oh, notice that it is not noise that blocks the arrows, but faith. And faith often looks like quiet trust. On October 14th, your silence will be the expression of your faith. And in that silence, flaming arrows will fall harmless to the ground. Think of how shields are used in battle. They are not flashy weapons. They are not designed to draw attention. A shield is often plain, but it is the soldier's lifeline. The one who carries a shield may not look glorious, yet they are the ones who endure. In the same way, your silence may not impress the world, but it will preserve you. It will guard your heart from words spoken against you, and it will guard your destiny from battles not meant for you to fight. Consider the image of a fortress wall. Enemies may shout from outside, hurling insults and demands, but the wall does not respond. Its silence is its strength. It does not argue, it stands. Your silence on October 14th will be like that wall, standing firm against the noise of accusation and distraction. There is a paradox in silence. It looks vulnerable, but it is the strongest stance you can take. When you hold your tongue, you are not defenseless, you are shielded. You are allowing God Himself to step into the role of defender. And when He defends, no opposition can prevail. Remember also the power of shields when they are joined together. In ancient battles, soldiers would form a wall of shields, locking them side by side. Individually, a shield protected one person. Together, they became nearly unstoppable. Your silence may feel personal, but in truth, it is corporate. On October 14th, countless chosen ones across the earth will be silent together. That silence will form a spiritual wall no enemy can breach. Imagine arrows flying through the air, meant to pierce your heart, to provoke you, to wound you with lies. Yet as they approach, your silence rises like a shield. The arrows strike, but cannot enter. They break against the invisible wall of obedience. You walk away untouched, because you chose not to answer back. This shield does not just protect from the outside, it guards from the inside too. Words spoken in haste can become arrows. You fire at yourself. Regret, guilt. Broken relationships often flow from words unleashed too quickly. Silence spares you from wounding yourself. It keeps you whole, protecting not only your future, but also your present peace. Even creation itself understands the power of restraint. The earth beneath your feet holds back rivers and oceans with boundaries. The sky contains storms in appointed times. The seasons wait for their turn. Nothing rushes. Nothing shouts out of order. The obedience of creation is its shield. So too, your obedience in silence will be your covering. There is also hidden beauty in this shield. Unlike physical armor that grows heavy, the shield of obedience becomes lighter the more you use it. With every act of silence, your spirit strengthens, and what once felt impossible becomes natural. By the end of October 14th, you will discover that silence is not a burden, but a grace. You are not defenseless. You are not left exposed. When you choose silence, you are stepping behind the shield of God's protection. And in that place, no arrow can harm you. No accusation can define you. No distraction can shake you. Let your silence be your shield. And let your shield be your witness that obedience is never wasted, and that the quiet trust of one day can preserve the destiny of a lifetime. And when the day has passed, you will realize the shield did more than protect, it trained you. Every silent moment became a layer of strength, teaching you that obedience builds walls no storm can ever break. There are words that save, and there are words that destroy. The difference is not in their sound, but in their timing. On October 14th, God is asking you to recognize the power of timing by withholding your words. For even truth spoken in the wrong moment can wound rather than heal. The Apostle Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 14, verse 33, wrote, "For God is not a God of disorder, but a God of peace." Peace flows when order is kept, and silence is one of the greatest forms of divine order. When you remain silent in a moment designed for it, you are submitting yourself to the rhythm of heaven. It is not chaos, it is alignment. Think of silence like the soil before planting. No farmer scatters seed into rushing water or strong winds. He waits for the soil to be ready, calm, receptive. On October 14th, you will be that soil. Your silence will prepare the ground for God's words to take root when He speaks them in His time. I recall a story of a woman who longed to defend herself against endless criticism. Every accusation seemed to demand a reply, but each reply only led to more conflict. Finally, she obeyed the call to silence. At first, it felt unbearable. Her lips ached with unsaid words. But weeks later, the very people who once attacked her came to see their own fault. Her silence had not only preserved her peace, it also exposed truth without her lifting a finger. That is how silence works. It is not passive. It is active surrender. It creates a space for God to do what your arguments could never accomplish. Now, I invite you into a prophetic act. A short but powerful declaration. I remain still. Write it as your covenant. Not many words. Not long explanations. Just a simple phrase that holds deep meaning. To remain still is to say, I will not be dragged into noise. I will not let distraction claim me. I will hold my place and let God be my defender. When you type it, you are reminding yourself that silence is not weakness. Stillness is not passivity. Remaining still is choosing peace over chaos, obedience over impulse, trust over fear. Think of a mountain rising above the clouds. It does not shift when storms rage at its base. It does not bow when winds howl. It remains still. That is the testimony of your silence on October 14th. Or picture a candle burning in a dark room. It does not shout at the shadows, it simply remains. That stillness is what terrifies the darkness, because it cannot comprehend how light shines without a sound. Your silence will be that mountain. Your silence will be that candle. By choosing not to answer, you will shine brighter than words ever could, and heaven itself will mark your obedience as strength. So take this declaration to heart. I remain still. Let it guide you. Let it settle into your spirit, and let it carry you through the noise of the day. Silence is not an escape. It is a decision to walk a higher path. When you declare, "I remain still," you are refusing to fight battles in the mud. You are rising to the mountaintop where perspective is clear and the air is pure. That decision alone separates the chosen ones from the restless crowd. Stillness is also a training ground. In silence, you learn patience, and patience sharpens your character. Like an archer who pulls back the bowstring and holds it steady, your silence teaches control. The arrow does not release too early. It waits for the precise moment. In the same way, your words will carry greater weight after silence has refined them. Another dimension of stillness is trust. By withholding your voice, you place responsibility in God's hands. You are saying, "Lord, I do not need to defend myself, because you are my defender." That trust builds intimacy. It pulls you closer to His presence, where His peace flows like a river. Your silence is also intercession. Without words, your obedience becomes prayer. Heaven sees that choice and responds. Every moment you resist the temptation to argue or to explain is a moment heaven records as faithfulness. Angels surround the one who chooses quiet trust over noisy reaction. Finally, stillness brings revelation. When the noise fades, you begin to hear the voice within. God speaks clearest when your own words are absent. On October 14th, as you remain still, expect flashes of insight, hidden answers, and gentle confirmations. Your silence will become the very doorway through which wisdom enters. There is a kind of glory that does not shout, that does not demand attention, that does not arrive with clashing cymbals. It is a hidden glory, born in restraint, revealed only to those who choose obedience over impulse. On October 14th, this hidden glory will rest upon you as you embrace the silence God has commanded. When you hold your peace, you are stepping into a secret exchange. Every word you do not speak becomes a treasure placed in heaven's vault. Every moment you choose, restraint becomes a light woven into your crown. This is why your silence matters. It is not wasted. It is transformed into glory, unseen by the world, but fully recognized by God. The letter to the Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36. Declares, you need to persevere, so that when you have done God's will, you will receive what He has promised. Perseverance in silence is not easy. It may feel like surrendering your strength, but in truth, it is storing it. You are not losing your voice, you are refining it. And when the time comes, your words will carry weight like thunder because they were birthed in the furnace of quietness. Think of a pearl inside an oyster. It forms silently, hidden from view, layer upon layer of beauty, building over time. No one sees the process, but one day the shell opens and the hidden treasure is revealed. Your silence on October 14th is like that oyster. God is forming something precious inside you that will be revealed in His time. Or picture a painter working in a dim studio. He does not unveil the canvas too early. He waits, adds colors, shades, details, until the masterpiece is ready. Silence is your unfinished painting. When you withhold your words, you allow heaven to keep adding brush strokes until the moment comes for the unveiling. This hidden glory cannot be rushed, nor can it be stolen. It is reserved for the one who waits. And when it comes, it will not only cover you, but also speak to others through you. People will not understand how peace surrounds you, how favor finds you, how authority rests on you. They will not see that it was born in silence. And now, allow me to speak to your heart with an invitation. Just as silence is a voluntary gift you give to God, your response to this word can also become part of that gift. When you press like, it is not just a click, it is as if you are adding a stroke of gold to the hidden painting heaven is preparing in you. It is your way of saying, I see the beauty in this word. And when you share, it is like opening the window of that dim studio and letting others glimpse the masterpiece in progress. You are saying, this beauty is not mine to keep. It belongs to the family of the chosen ones. Your sharing becomes part of the testimony of silence, multiplying the reach of its power. And when you subscribe, it is like deciding to remain in the gallery of God's unfolding art. You are choosing not to walk away too early, not to miss the next unveiling. Subscribing is your way of saying, I want to remain here where the brush of heaven keeps moving. None of this is pressure. It is not duty. It is invitation. Just like silence itself, the pearl cannot be forced. The painting cannot be rushed. The glory cannot be manufactured. It comes quietly, in its own time. And so too, your response must come freely, not as obligation, but as the overflow of your spirit. On October 14th, when silence surrounds you, remember, you are not empty. You are hidden in glory. And when the day passes, what has been forming in secret will one day shine in the open. Your silence is not weakness, it is worship. It is not passivity, it is participation in a greater story. And that story will be told not in the noise of your words, but in the hidden weight of your obedience. Glory does not always arrive with sound. Sometimes it walks in quietly, like dawn breaking over the horizon, unnoticed at first, but unstoppable in its light. That is the kind of glory your silence carries. Each moment you withhold words becomes a spark that heaven weaves into radiant cloth. Soon, the covering of peace and strength will rest on you, visible in ways you cannot yet imagine. And when others look, they will see not just your silence, but the beauty it produced, unshakable calm, steady strength, and hidden glory revealed in due time. There is a weight to the past that often lingers in the present, memories of words spoken against you, wounds carved by conversations, regrets from things you yourself have said. These voices of the past try to rise again whenever silence is commanded. October 14th is not only about restraining your lips from answering others, it is also about silencing those old echoes within you. The writings of the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 13, urge us, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from telling lies. End 1. This command is not merely about words spoken outwardly, but about the inward dialogue that shapes your spirit. The enemy often replays scenes in your mind. Like an old recording, the arguments, the rejections, the accusations. These echoes tempt you to speak again, to explain again, to defend again. Yet silence is a choice to stop replaying those tapes, to lay them down at the feet of God. Imagine walking into an empty theater where the lights are dim, the stage is bare, yet suddenly an old performance begins to replay on the walls scenes of your life. Words you regret, mistakes magnified. Silence is the act of walking out of that theater, refusing to watch the performance anymore. You are not that person, and you will not let those voices command you. On October 14th, silence will break the loop. It will cut the cords of replay, reminding you that the past cannot own you unless you give it permission. Every time you remain silent, you are not only resisting others, you are also refusing to agree with the voices of yesterday. There is also the voice of self-accusation. It whispers, "You should have done more. You should have spoken louder. You failed." But silence reminds you that grace is already speaking louder than your guilt. The cross has already answered what your words cannot. Your silence becomes agreement with that truth. It says, "I rest in what God has already spoken over me." Oh, consider the image of a musician tuning an instrument. The strings, left to themselves, create discord, noise, tension. But when adjusted into silence, one by one, they align. That pause between sound is what brings harmony. In the same way, silence on October 14th will tune your heart. It will bring order to the places where old voices created disharmony. Another image, a courtroom suddenly quiet. The accusations have been hurled, the evidence piled high. But the judge lifts his hand and the room falls silent. That silence does not mean defeat. It means the final word belongs to the judge, not the accuser. When you keep silent, you are acknowledging that your judge has already spoken over your life, and his verdict is mercy. There may be moments when memories sting sharply, as if demanding your voice. You may feel the urge to respond to a wound that still burns. But silence is a shield here as well. It keeps you from opening scars, from tearing old wounds wider. It closes the door to rehearsing pain, so that healing can continue without interruption. Do not underestimate this healing. Silence will not only protect you from outside noise, but will also cleanse the inner noise you've carried too long. Some burdens you've spoken about again and again, yet they never lifted. This is because words cannot heal what silence must cover. Sometimes the greatest balm is not another explanation but quiet surrender. October 14th. Then becomes more than a day of silence in the outer world. It is also a fast from the inner noise. It is a declaration that you will no longer carry the voices of the past forward with you. You are leaving them behind, just as Israel left Egypt behind when they crossed the sea. Silence is not empty. It is a turning point. The voices of the past lose their grip the moment you stop feeding them with your words. They may try to return, but your silence will stand as a wall, saying, "No further, and in that stillness, something new begins. Fresh thoughts rise where old accusations once lived. Hope whispers where regret once shouted. Peace fills the spaces once dominated by echoes. This is the hidden miracle of silence. It does not only keep you from speaking outwardly, it also trains your inner world to rest, to heal, and to trust. When October 14th ends, you will find that some voices no longer hold power over you. They will fade, like shadows at dawn, because you chose to let silence carry them away. And when those voices try to rise again, you will remember. October 14th, the day silence spoke louder than the past, and freedom began to echo within you. There are moments when God gives you a sign to anchor your obedience, not because He needs reminders, but because we do. Humans forget easily. Our hearts waver. But when we act with a symbolic gesture, It carves the truth deeper into our spirit. October 14th is not just about remaining silent, it is also about sealing that silence with a prophetic act. In the book of Joshua, chapter 4, the Israelites crossed the Jordan River on dry ground. After they had passed through, God commanded them to pick up 12 stones from the riverbed. Those stones were not magical. They were not idols. They were memorials, physical markers of a spiritual moment. Every time the people saw them, they remembered what God had done. That is the purpose of prophetic numbers as well. They are not superstition. They are memorials. They are reminders that God is in the story, that He is weaving meaning even in the smallest details. By choosing to declare a number, you are saying, I remember. I seal this moment. I will not forget. Today, the number chosen is 555. Why 555? Because it symbolizes grace upon grace upon grace. 15 represents God's favor. 2 5s double it, but 3 5s multiply it to perfection. By declaring 555, you are not only agreeing with silence, you are declaring that His grace is enough to hold you through it. It is not your strength that will keep you from speaking. It is His grace covering you, layer after layer, like waves washing over the shore. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. This verse is the heartbeat of 555. Your silence may feel weak, uncomfortable, even unnatural. Yet in that very weakness, His power will shine. 555 is your reminder that God's grace is not just present, it is multiplied. Every time you feel the urge to break silence, remember the triple seal of grace that holds you steady. Think of the image of a potter at the wheel. The clay spins, soft and fragile, ready to collapse. But the hands of the potter press gently, shaping it with patience. That is grace. It is God's hand steadying you, keeping you from collapsing under the weight of impulse. 555 is the stamp of those hands, reminding you that you are not spinning alone. Or picture waves at the edge of the sea. One wave crashes, then another, then another. The shore does not resist, it simply receives. This is grace unceasing, unending, washing over you again and again. Your silence on October 14th will feel like standing on that shore. And 555 is your way of saying, I choose to receive every wave. No. So, when you type 555 inches the comments, you are not just leaving a number, you are lifting a memorial stone. You are declaring to yourself, to heaven, and even to the enemy, I will not rely on my own power. I will rest in multiplied grace. And this act is small but profound. It may look like simple digits on a screen, yet in the spirit, it is a proclamation. Just as Israel placed stones by the Jordan, you are placing your number in the flow of this moment. And years from now, when you remember October 14th, you will recall the seal you made with 555, and it will remind you of the grace that carried you through. Do not underestimate the strength of this covenant. Grace is not abstract. It is real power. It is the hand that steadies your trembling. It is the whisper that calms your restless mind. It is the anchor that holds when storms roar. by sealing your silence with 555. You are acknowledging that you cannot stand on your own, but you do not have to. Your silence will speak on October 14th, but grace will carry it. And every time your lips want to break the command, grace will surround you, shield you, and whisper, "Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit." So let this number rest in your spirit. Let it remind you that silence is not emptiness. It is a space where grace multiplies. And let 555 be your testimony, your memorial, your seal of faith in the God who strengthens the weak. Type it, hold it, carry it, and let October 14th become the day you discover 555 is not random, it is layered, meaning the first 5 reminds you of God's covenant of grace. The second 5 declares His favor doubled over your life. The third 5 seals it, a perfect completeness of mercy. Together, they whisper, "You will not stand alone. My grace surrounds you." Breakthrough often comes quietly, in ways you least expect, not with the sound of trumpets or the shaking of the ground, but with a shift in the unseen realm that only later becomes visible in your life. That is the mystery of October 14th. While you remain silent, it will appear as though nothing is happening, but heaven will be working with precision on your behalf. The ancient words recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 64, verse 4, remind us, "Since ancient times no one has heard, no ear has perceived, no eye has seen any God besides you, who acts on behalf of those who wait for Him." Now, this is the nature of breakthrough. It arrives for those who wait, not for those who rush ahead. Silence is your waiting, your trust, your surrender. It is the posture that says, "I will not move until you move." And when you choose this, heaven responds with actions unseen by human eyes. Breakthrough is often hidden like roots beneath the soil. At first glance, the ground looks unchanged, even barren. But beneath the surface, roots are spreading, reaching deep, building strength. In time, shoots break through, and fruit follows. October 14th will be such a day for you. While the soil above looks quiet, the roots of your destiny will be stretching deeper, unseen but unstoppable. Think of the story of Daniel. For 21 days he prayed. Yet, in the natural, nothing shifted. What he did not see was the angelic battle raging in the heavenly realm. His silence and persistence in waiting released victory that was delayed but not denied. In the same way, your silence is unlocking breakthroughs you cannot yet perceive. Angels will move, chains will weaken, doors will be prepared, all while you appear to be still. Another image is the dawn after a long night. The night can feel endless, filled with shadows and uncertainty. Yet, without fail, light breaks the horizon. You cannot stop it. You cannot hurry it. It arrives on its own time, yet it always comes. That is breakthrough. Silence does not stop the dawn. It positions you to witness it. Breakthrough is also protection. Sometimes God withholds answers because the environment is not ready for you to step forward. Your silence allows Him to clear the way, to remove hidden traps, to rearrange circumstances. What feels like delay is actually divine preparation. And when the moment comes, you will step forward, not into confusion, but into alignment. Consider the image of a key turning in a lock. The door does not swing open immediately. The mechanism inside must align tumblers, shift, grooves, slide, pieces, click. All of this happens hidden within the lock. Only when everything is aligned does the door release. Your silence is that turning key. You may not hear the inner movements, but the lock is shifting, and soon the door will open. Do not despise the quiet of this breakthrough. The world often teaches that success must be loud, visible, celebrated. But some of the greatest victories are the ones no one notices until later, like a seed sprouting underground, like a foundation laid beneath a house. Your silent breakthrough is forming the structure upon which greater glory will stand. And when the moment comes, it will surprise even you. You will look back and realize that silence was not wasted. It was the womb of your breakthrough. You will see doors open with no effort of your own. Opportunities align without manipulation. Peace flood where chaos once ruled. Breakthrough also comes with clarity. The silence you kept will quiet the noise inside you, making space for answers that were waiting to be revealed. Ideas will flow. Wisdom will rise. Solutions will appear where confusion used to reign. This is not coincidence. It is the fruit of your obedience. Remember, your silence on October 14th is not passive. It is active cooperation with the movement of God. You may feel unseen, but heaven sees you. You may feel unheard, but heaven hears you. And what is happening in the unseen will soon break into the visible, carrying with it the evidence of breakthrough you could not have achieved by words alone. So step into that day knowing this: your silence is not the end of the story. It is the turning point. It is the hidden chapter where breakthrough is written, not in ink of human effort, but in the fire of divine intervention. And when the door finally opens, you will understand why the silence was necessary. It was never punishment, but preparation. Every quiet second was heaven's hand, carving a path only you could walk through with strength and grace. The silence of October 14th is not just an act of obedience, it is a strategy that unsettles the enemy. Darkness thrives on noise. It feeds on arguments, accusations, and endless chatter. When you refuse to speak, you are dismantling the very system the enemy relies upon. You are interrupting the rhythm of chaos with stillness. And nothing frustrates darkness more than a child of God who will not be provoked. The ancient prophet Nahum, in chapter 1, verse 7, declared, "The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble. He knows those who trust in him." This verse reveals the reason silence terrifies the enemy. It is evidence of trust. Trust is not loud. Trust does not panic. Trust simply stands, anchored in the goodness of God. And the enemy cannot touch what rests in divine trust. Think of a battlefield once again. Soldiers clash with deafening noise. The air is filled with shouts, the clash of weapons, the cries of fear. But in the midst of it all, one warrior stands still, watching, silent, unshaken. That silence radiates confidence, sending confusion into the ranks of the enemy. They do not know whether to attack or retreat, because silence communicates control. On October 14th, that will be you. Your silence will not be weakness, but strategy. It will be a refusal to engage in the enemy's language. It will declare, without words, that you are not fighting on his battlefield, but on God's. Another image, a chessboard. The opponent makes a dramatic move, slamming a piece down, expecting a quick reaction, but the skilled player waits, silent, calculating, unmoved. That silence unnerves the opponent far more than any rushed move could. Your silence on October 14th will be like that, measured, intentional, disarming. The enemy thrives on provoking. He longs to drag you into endless cycles of defense, wasting your energy and distracting your focus. When you refuse to answer, you cut the rope he tries to tie around you. Silence is the scissors that severs the cycle. You may not see the panic this silence causes, but know this: the unseen realm reacts. Demons scatter when they cannot predict you. The enemy grows restless when his traps go unanswered. Just as Jesus stood silent before Pilate, his quietness revealed authority greater than words. That same authority rests upon you when you obey the call to silence. There is also wisdom in remembering that the enemy cannot read your thoughts. He depends on your words to reveal what you feel, what you fear, what you hope for. Every time you speak carelessly, you hand over information. But silence keeps your strategy hidden. Silence cloaks you in mystery. On October 14th, silence will be your armor of secrecy, shielding your plans from the enemy's grasp. Consider the image of a storm trying to knock down a tree. The wind howls, the rain beats, yet the tree stands silent. Its roots hold firm. The storm may rage, but the tree does not explain itself. It endures. And when the storm passes, the tree remains. That will be you. Your silence will outlast the noise of the enemy's storm. Or picture a hawk soaring high above the ground. Smaller birds may screech and dart at it, but the hawk does not answer. It keeps its wings steady, its eyes fixed, and its silence terrifies the frantic noise below. In the same way, your silence is a high flight. It lifts you above the reach of chaos. Remember this: silence is not passivity. It is divine warfare in disguise. It is the kind of warfare that does not swing wildly, but waits, rests, and trusts that God Himself will strike at the right moment. So when the enemy comes with distractions, when accusations rise, when provocations burn, hold your peace. That silence is not weakness. It is the sound of heaven's victory. And in that silence, the enemy panics, because he cannot fight what he does not understand. October 14th is not merely about you holding your tongue. It is about you standing in a holy strategy that shakes darkness itself. Your quiet will roar louder than any shout, and the enemy will know you are untouchable when you stand still in trust. Your silence will not only unsettle the enemy, it will also proclaim to heaven that you trust God enough to let Him act in your stead. Every withheld word becomes a banner of faith, fluttering invisibly over your life. And when the day passes, you will realize that silence was never emptiness, it was partnership. God moved while you waited. He fought while you stood still. And His victory became your inheritance without a single word leaving your lips. There comes a moment when the scattered pieces of your journey begin to fit together. Silence, obedience, trust. All of it has been shaping you for something greater than you realized. October 14th will not be remembered as a day of emptiness, but as a threshold, a crossing into a new chapter. And now, as the days move forward, Your silence becomes a witness that you are ready to walk in the strength God has been preparing within you. The ancient words in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, remind us, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory to be revealed in us." This is the hope hidden in obedience, that what looks small today will shine tomorrow. Your silence will not remain invisible forever. What was hidden will be revealed. And when it comes forth, it will carry weight, beauty, and authority that only heaven could craft. Think of it like a tree growing deep roots underground. To those above the surface, it may appear as though nothing changes, but beneath the soil, strength is forming. And one day, the trunk rises higher, the branches stretch wider, and the fruit becomes visible. Silence has been your roots. Soon, the fruit will show. Or picture a sculptor chiseling stone. The work is slow, deliberate, almost monotonous to the casual eye. Yet with every strike, a masterpiece takes shape. Your silence has been heaven's chisel, removing what does not belong, refining what remains, revealing what was hidden inside you all along. And now, let me speak to your heart. Just as silence has been a voluntary gift, your response to this message can also be a beautiful act of choice. When you press like, it is as though you are lighting a candle on the altar of agreement, saying quietly, "Yes, this word belongs in me." It is not noise, it is flame. When you share, it is like carrying that candle into another dark room, placing it where someone else needs light. It is not obligation, but generosity. You are saying, "The silence that has healed me, may it also heal you." And when you subscribe, it is as though you are choosing to step into a long journey together, walking into the gallery of God's unfolding story. Subscription is not a button, it is a seat you take in the ongoing unfolding of heaven's masterpiece. But there is also a more personal invitation here. I ask you, not with pressure, but with freedom, to join in a symbolic act of writing in the comments. Let your words be simple but powerful. I cross over. When you write this, you are declaring that silence has brought you to a threshold, and now you step into a new season. It is as if your words themselves are footsteps echoing across the bridge from waiting into fulfillment. This comment is not a ritual, it is a memorial stone. It says, "Here I passed through, here I trusted, here I obeyed." And one day, when you look back, those 3 words will remind you that October 14th was not a pause, but a passage. October 14th will mark you forever. Your silence will roar louder than words. Your obedience will build foundations, and your trust will rise as a fragrance before God. And when you choose to lift your response to like, share, subscribe, and declare, "I cross over," you are not just supporting this word. You are stepping into the beauty of your own story, written by the hand of the author himself. Remember, silence was never the end. It was always the beginning. And now, you cross over into what was waiting for you all along. Crossing over means leaving behind the shadows of yesterday. It means that what once chained your voice will no longer dictate your future. The silence of October 14th becomes the doorway where the old finally loosens its grip. To cross over is also to embrace the unknown with faith. You do not see every step, but you trust the hand that leads you. Just as Israel stepped into the Jordan while the waters still flowed, your obedience will part what seemed impossible. And as you walk forward, your story will change shape. You will notice strength where there was once weakness, clarity where there was once confusion, and peace where there was once unrest. Crossing over is not only movement, it is transformation, marking you as one who obeyed and one who was crowned with hidden glory. Crowns are not given in noise. They are given in quiet moments, in hidden seasons, in unseen tests. October 14th, though marked by silence, is a day when heaven places a crown upon those who obey. Not a crown of earthly gold that fades with time, but a crown of quiet fire, an authority that cannot be removed because it is forged in surrender. The writings of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Declare, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, for having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. This is the promise. The crown is not for the loud, not for the self-proclaimed, not for those who grasp at power. It is for those who stand the test. And silence is one of the greatest tests, because it demands trust. To remain quiet when provoked, to resist when tempted, to wait when restless, this is perseverance. Imagine a flame that does not flicker. Though the wind presses hard against it, it looks fragile, yet it endures. That flame is your obedience, and in heaven's eyes, it becomes a crown of fire. It burns not to consume you, but to mark you as one who belongs entirely to God. There is something different about a crown of quiet fire. It is not visible to all, yet it radiates an authority that others can sense. People may not understand why they respect your presence, why peace follows you into a room, why your words carry unusual weight. It is the unseen crown resting upon you, the fruit of your hidden obedience. Consider the image of molten gold in a furnace. It is silent as the fire rages around it. It does not shout. It does not resist, but it endures. And when the refining is complete, it is poured into shape, becoming something far more beautiful than before. Your silence is that refining, and your crown is the shape heaven pours you into afterward. Or think of the stars. They do not make sound, yet they crown the night sky with beauty. No one hears them, but all can see them. In the same way, your silence on October 14th will crown your life with radiance that needs no announcement. This crown is not for pride. It is not to be flaunted, nor is it to elevate yourself above others. It is given so that you may serve with greater authority, so that you may walk in greater humility, so that you may carry the fragrance of heaven wherever you go. You may not feel different at first. When the day passes, you might even wonder, did anything change? But over time, you will notice subtle shifts. You will find strength where you once faltered. You will find patience where you once rushed. You will find words of wisdom flowing from you when you do speak, because they were birthed in silence. That is the work of the crown of quiet fire. It will also protect you. Just as a crown signifies belonging to a kingdom, this crown identifies you as belonging to heaven. The enemy sees it and knows you are marked. It does not mean you will never face trials, but it does mean you are covered with an authority that trials cannot destroy. Picture a torch carried through a dark cave. Its flame may be small, but it crowns the bearer with light. guiding each step. That is your crown, quiet, steady, burning in unseen places, guiding you into futures you cannot yet see. The silence of October 14th is not wasted. It is heaven's workshop, where obedience is shaped into authority, and surrender becomes your crown. And though you may not hear applause, though no one may hand you a medal, heaven itself bows to place this crown upon your spirit. Carry it humbly, wear it with reverence, and remember always that it was silence, not noise, that brought you into the authority of quiet fire. Your crown of quiet fire will not always be noticed by human eyes, yet it will shape how the world responds to you. Peace will rest where chaos once reigned, and authority will flow where uncertainty used to dwell. This crown is unseen yet undeniable, and though it does not glitter like earthly gold, it will carry you farther than any earthly prize. It is the seal of your obedience, the evidence of your trust, and the sign that silence has birthed something eternal. Wear it with humility, and let its fire guide every step forward. Every appointed season carries a threshold, a line you must cross. October 14th is that line for you, not an ending, but a passage into something new. The silence you will keep on that day is not just about restraint, it is about stepping into divine alignment, where your life begins to move with the rhythm of heaven itself. The writings in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 23, declare, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful." Oh, faithfulness is the thread that runs through this season. You are not asked to be loud, to prove yourself, or to strive. You are asked to hold steady, to trust quietly, to walk into the next chapter with confidence in the one who promised. Crossing a threshold always feels different. There is a weight to it. You sense that something behind you is finished, even if you cannot fully describe what lies ahead. That is the nature of divine transitions. They demand faith. Silence is part of this faith. It is the way you keep yourself steady as the floor beneath you shifts and the doors before you open. Think of Israel as they stood at the edge of the Jordan River. Behind them was the wilderness, familiar, though exhausting. Before them was the promise, unknown, though filled with hope. They had to cross, and when they did, they stepped into a land prepared for them. Your October 14th silence is like that crossing. It may feel uncertain, but it is the step that takes you out of wandering and into fulfillment. Another image, a doorway in an old house. The room behind you is dark, worn, and heavy. The door before you opens to light. To cross, you must pass through the frame, leaving behind what no longer serves you. Silence on October 14th is that frame. As you pass through, the sound of the old will fade, and the peace of the new will begin. Crossing also requires release. You cannot carry everything with you into the next season. Silence strips you of unnecessary baggage. It frees your hands from arguments, your heart from restlessness, your mind from constant replay. It is like laying down heavy packs at the threshold so you can walk lighter into the promise ahead. And though the crossing may feel lonely, you are not alone. The God who called you to silence is the same God who walks beside you into the new. His presence is not absent in the quiet. It is magnified. What feels like stillness is actually companionship. You are crossing with him, not by yourself. Consider the image of dawn. The night ends silently. The sun does not need fanfare to rise. It simply climbs, scattering shadows as it goes. Your silence will be like that dawn, without noise, without announcement. You will find yourself in a new light. The threshold will have been crossed, and everything around you will look different. There may still be battles ahead. Promised lands are not without giants, but crossing the threshold with silence gives you a new foundation. You will face what comes with a deeper calm, a stronger trust, and an authority that noise could never have built. Silence has made you steady, and steadiness will carry you through. And when you look back on October 14th, it will not be as just another date on a calendar. It will be a marker. You will remember it as the day when your silence became your passage, when obedience turned into alignment, when trust carried you across. Step forward with peace. You are not leaving something behind. You are entering what was always waiting for you. The threshold has been crossed, and the new season is yours to walk in. October 14th is not an ending, but a threshold, a passage into divine alignment. Your silence is more than restraint. It is the bridge that carries you into what heaven has prepared. In stillness, you step from wandering into fulfillment. Crossing thresholds always feels weighty. Like Israel at the Jordan, you sense the wilderness behind and the promise ahead. Silence strips away baggage arguments, restlessness, and replayed pain so that you may walk lighter into the season designed for you. Think of dawn breaking. The night does not end with noise, but with light rising silently. In the same way, your obedience will scatter shadows without announcement. You will look around and realize you are in a new day. October 14th will be remembered as your passage, not a pause, but a turning point. In silence, you crossed over, and in that crossing, you found not emptiness, but the faithful presence of God guiding you into the season where His promises live. The journey has led you here. 17 sections of truth, vision, and prophetic call have been placed before you like stepping stones across a river. Each one brought you closer to this moment, the realization that October 14th is not just a day to mark on the calendar, but a doorway into a new life of obedience, strength, and alignment with heaven. Silence was never emptiness. It was never weakness. It was preparation. It was the ground where your roots stretched deeper, the cocoon where transformation unfolded, the forge where your spirit was refined. And now, as you prepare to live out this holy command, you carry with you crowns of quiet fire, shields of obedience, and the promise of breakthrough waiting to be revealed. But this message is not meant to remain only within you. Light grows brighter when shared. Truth multiplies when passed forward. Let your response today be more than listening. Let it become a mark of agreement. When you press like, it is like sealing this journey with a flame, saying, "Yes, this word belongs to me." End quote. When you share, it is like opening a door for someone else, still wandering in noise, guiding them toward the refuge of silence. Your act may be the key that helps another chosen one recognize their calling. When you subscribe, you are not merely following a page, you are choosing to remain in the flow of prophetic words. To continue walking with this family of listeners who are also learning to hear the whispers of heaven, and I invite you, finally, to place your memorial stone in the comments. Write with boldness, "I choose obedience." These words are not only a sentence, they are like carving your vow into a living tablet, a sacred stone set before heaven. Just as Israel placed their stones by the Jordan to mark their crossing, your comment becomes a holy marker. Here I stood. Here I chose. Here I obeyed. October 14th will be remembered as a day of silence, but also as a day of covenant. You are not just passing through, you are stepping into your future. And in your obedience, heaven will move, and the world will see the fruit of your surrender.